Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and much appreciated you guys checking today's video out. And just sitting in the car line here waiting to pick Elijah up, and wanted to take a second to do today's video. And today we're going to be talking about the easiest way to catch bass in the month of May. If you guys just want to go out and get a lot of bites and catch a lot of fish, I'm going to go over the technique that's going to be easiest for you to do that in about any lake across the country. So real quick guys, I just want to remind everybody out there, you guys know that I'm doing the lake map breakdowns for Fish the Moment, and right now we're starting to promote our summer lake map breakdowns. You know, we're getting into May, getting close to summer, so if you guys would like to check out any of our summer lake map breakdowns, I'll include the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description. You guys can check them out there. And if any of the lakes that you want to check out are not on our list, you can do a virtual lesson with me, and we can go over any lake that you want to and get you some good spots. So much appreciated. Okay guys, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to give you some tricks and some tips to fish it, and that's a wacky rig. We've done a lot of videos on wacky rigging. I think everybody knows what it is. If you're new to the channel and you don't know what a wacky rig is, it's basically just like a straight-tailed worm. Could be like a Senko or straight-tailed plastic worm with a hook put right in the middle of it. That's all you do. You just hook it right in the middle of the worm with a straight shank hook. But I think most people know what it is, and if you don't, just go back on some of my past videos on wacky rigs, and you can we got a lot of good info on that. So anyway, the month of May, guys, is probably the best month to fish a wacky rig, simply because so many of the bass are still in shallow water and they're still feeding. For most of the part of the country, across the country, it doesn't matter if it's south or up north, you start to have a bigger population of the fish move up into those water depths of less than 5 feet. And they're focused on spawning in May. Now, it's depending again upon the geographical location. They could be in the pre-spawn a little bit, they could be in the middle of the spawn, they could be in the post-spawn. Say, for example, here in Missouri, guys, we have fish in all 3 phases. There's some fish that haven't spawned, there's some fish that are on the beds right now, and some fish that are done spawning. But regardless, those fish are still living shallow, and they're in a feeding mode, but they're in a mode that's a little bit funkier. There's a limited amount of lure presentations that really trigger them into biting. And the slow fall of a wacky rig is one of the best presentations to catch May bass, because most wacky rigs, guys, will fall about just about like this. You know, it depends on, you know, how big a hook you have in it and how much salt is in your bait. But regardless, it's a slow fall, and the fish are really, really attracted to that. So what you need to look for when you're wacky rigging is basically shallow water coves, shallow water flats, shallow water grass beds, any cover that's available in less than 5 foot of water. If you have a lake that has docks on it, a wacky rig is it's probably the best dock bait in the month of May that you can use. So really work on your skipping technique. Try to skip that wacky rig under the dock, or if you have like dock pilings, if it's a floating dock, try to skip it like under the walkway. Or if you can't do that, just try to get it as close as you can to the dock edge, and key on the water that's less than 5 feet deep if possible. Normally that's around the walkway area of the dock. Docks are great areas to catch them on wacky rigs. If you have a lake that has a lot of grass in it, wacky rigs are great in grass. You know, cast them around the edges of the grass, let them go down to the bottom. If the grass is submergent, say for example, if it's underwater, comes to the surface, and it doesn't come to the surface, cast them just over those flats, let it go down in there. If you're fishing around lay down trees or stumps, you can use a wacky rig that's got a weedless hook on it, and you can actually, you know, cast it in and around those limbs, work it through the limbs is a real good way. And probably my favorite way to fish it is just on a bare open bank. If you get back in any cove on a lake, more than likely there's going to be some fish in there that are spawning or wanting to spawn in May. So just cover water going down a bare bank. It could be sand, it could be gravel, it could be rock, whatever. Throw that wacky rig up to the bank, you know, work it out, you know, fairly quick, a couple feet, and let it sink to the bottom. And the thing about it on wacky rigs, guys, most of the time, probably 95% of the time, they're either going to hit it on the way down, or they're going to hit it as soon as the bait hits the bottom and you move it just a foot or two. You don't, on a wacky rig, if you make a long cast with it, once it hits the bottom, don't worry about working it all the way back to the boat. A wacky rig is a sight bait, and if there's a fish around it, they're going to come and get it pretty quick. So you can, if you work it all the way back to the boat on a long cast, you're not going to cover any ground. It's going to take you, you're going to work like a snail down a bank. So my rule of thumb is once it hits the bottom, I work it for 2 or 3, 4 feet, and then reel it back in, make another cast with it. Colors totally depends on your water clarity. You can't go wrong with some type of a green pumpkin or watermelon for the most part if you've got any water visibility that has over, say, 2.5 foot of visibility. Sometimes I like to dip the ends of the wacky rig in chartreuse dye. It helps out a little bit. And if I'm fishing water clarity that has less than 2 foot of water, a lot of the times I'm going to a darker color like a black or a black and blue or June bug or something like that. Normally I fish it on 6-pound test, Seaguar and Vizex line, 6 to 8 pound test line, and just a 6 foot 10 inch spinning rod with that. So anyway, guys, that is the best way to catch them in the month of May. There's not a single lake in the country, I don't care where you're at, where they won't bite a wacky rig. Wacky rigs work everywhere. They're one of the top bass fishing lures that you can have. If you don't fish them and you're not familiar with them, spend some time to get familiar with them, because they're going to add up to a lot of fish for you guys. So hope it helps. We'll see you guys next time.